Hello. Hi.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Hi. How
Hey,
are you? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you very much.
Good. Question: Are you going to go ONE Summit and
Yes,
LFNDT? Okay, good.
yes.
So we can.
I'll be in both. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, so
I'll
you'll
be
be
there
there
too.
as well. Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic.
See you
Looking
there.
forward. Looking forward.
Yeah. Likewise. Good. We are SIG 4.
Yeah, we are sick for.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So there was a discussion in yesterday's release meeting saying that so apart from having a workshop on 2nd of May for nephew, there will be some discussions happening on 3rd on Friday as well. And these are basically design discussions, and if someone wants to get something, achieve something in terms of design proposition or something like that, they can be
Okay.
there. So I'm planning to be there. I know that a lot of folks will head back on 2nd itself. If
Yeah.
I don't know whether you will be there.
I'm very busy the Friday for ONE.
Friday.
I mean
Got it.
ONE presentation all day. So.
Okay.
But Thursday, I'm gonna be in the nephew session, so maybe
Okay.
I can see you there, and then we can
Yep.
talk about it. And
Absolutely.
also, for information, in elephant section,
Mm.
it's elephant anyway. Nephew, there are 3 nephew presentation we scheduled yesterday.
Yeah.
So nephew open discussion future approach, and then Kubernetes API support large scale network, and then nephew approach in R3. So 3 session, and then we just three rooms, 3 parallel session on the
Okay.
Friday.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, I see you on the Thursday. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, so we are 2 minutes into the call. We, uh, I'm not sure if we are expecting anyone specific. I know Prashant is not going to join in today. Shiv is here. Thank you, Shiv. Manuela, is it Manuela?
Yeah, she's Manuela. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know. By default, it come my signum, my company. I didn't change it. Okay, sorry for that.
No
Manuela is
problems.
my real name.
No problems.
Not a problem.
Okay. So let's head into the discussions. Let's if we cap up early, that should be fine too. I think one request. Uh, last week we got a mail on the security channel about some demock warning. So I'm following it up with the Linux Foundation. Basically, the problem is that if the nephew.org demarc is not set to reject, for example, so it means that anyone can send a email spoofing nephew.org domain name. So that needs to be handled. I'm following it up with the Linux Foundation team. Basically, there is some DNS records that have to be changed. This was discussed in TSC meeting. No action item needed from this working group except for I've already created a Jira ticket on the Linux Foundation page. Anything else before we go into some specific discussion? There is one action item that is looking for someone, if someone can take it up, and I want to float that action item. Basically, it's about handling signed releases for the Nephew project. If someone is willing to take it up, we'd be happy to have a discussion about in the context as to what exactly are the steps, what exactly is what we are trying to achieve. Basically, the aim is to sign or sign all the images that Nephew project generates using cosign, and then anyone should be able to then verify these container images using the transparency logs. That's the action item. So if anyone is willing, we'd be happy to work with him or her. This is something that is mentioned even on the good first issues. So if that is one action item which I feel we should be able to finish before R3. it would be a good thing to achieve as part of R3. We should be able to say that, Cosine is integrated with Nephew project, which means we have part of the supply chain security handle, not the full supply chain security handle. So it would be a nice thing to handle. Okay. With that said, any other action item that we have for discussion today? Manuel or Shiv? Yeah.
She's going to describe what the definition
Yeah.
of token. That was
Yeah.
the question from Emmanuel. So.
But my point is that I'd like to understand how the secret management feature that is together with the workload identity today, if I well understand, is going on, and also follow what you said at the general meeting for the collaboration about this secret management on someone else that is maybe more inside the core feature of Nephew, together with us that we are specific on security. So this secret, how is going on, if it's possible to participate and see what happened.
I think this was discussed in the last call.
Raul, that last time
Yep.
when they select you as a representative of security in okay. We spoke about this secret management, secret feature, secret.
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
would be useful to understand how to manage it, because I read a little bit on what was already done, and at the beginning in the automation SIG, I think they try to investigate because they had an issue that was how to share secrets between different cluster namespace. And then there is some, but really a two-line proposal to use HashiCorp KMS, but I didn't see any other.
No, yeah. So that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Okay.
So
And then I was interested in knowing how to solve that. Okay, but also in general, what we want to manage as sensitive data. What is related to credential, or I don't know how to manage the kube config related to the workload cluster that today contain the credential that could be different, could be certificate or service account or whatever it is inside, are sensitive data that at some point are in Git, and someone should encrypt them. Something, okay, it was just to put something on the table and see if this is in scope or not of this secret management, or if it's not in scope, if we can at some point try to address this.
Yeah, so our stand hasn't changed since last week. It's the same. What we discussed in the meeting with the SIG release, the Wednesday meeting, is that it's the same stand that we'll have to handle the workload identity prior to handling the secrets management. It will naturally get handled. It will be much easier to handle the secrets management once the workload identity is handled, because it's essentially a prerequisite towards that. So that stand hasn't changed as yet. And if you look at this was not an unknown thing for us. Like, the secrets management was discussed at some point in time in the other GitHub issue. We knew that there was a discussion about using Vault or KMS to handle the secrets, but there was no clear proposition as to how the authorization and will happen when the secrets are handled. That's where basically SIG Security has came in and said that this is the model for authorization for the secrets management that can work, and that basically requires workload identity to be in place. our understanding, our stand hasn't changed since what we had discussed previously. It's going to be the same, unless uh, what I believe is that I'm just worried that if we will have to execute some of these identity part very soon, because without that, bunch of the work items are going to get stalled. Secrets management is a here and now problem. Uh, so we need to push our teams to actually check if we can execute the POC much faster. That's what we are trying to do, and I'm hoping to check what Shiv has to say today. Shiv, any specific what would you like to say in the context?
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, go ahead, Manuela. Yeah.
No, it's better that you are the one, because in my case, it's better to start from what is already there, and you know better than me because you are the author.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, take the, whatever the workload identity design, right, slightly further and talk about how we can integrate with Vault. So that is one. I just have one single diagram which I want to just discuss, and so that's one part. And the other part is basically last time we had discussed about client credentials in the user story, whatever Manuela had written, right? And at that time, basically, I was mentioning that we should be able to use SPIFFE IDs itself, especially those tokens itself, to authenticate yourself to external services. So I just wanted to illustrate both these things. And yeah, definitely, I think we should take the POC forward. And if there are any comments on the design, I think it'll be really nice if people have another view or how things are working out on the design front. But then yeah, we should start the design on the POC. So that's
Shiv,
yeah.
if I understand, then you're saying the part of the workload identity work, you can consider using Vault to handle security secrets for workload identity, any sensitive data. Is that right? Then
Yeah.
you are covering both. You're covering both then.
Exactly. So because I think that was how it started out, right? So because we wanted to use Vault, and then we found out that we needed identity, workload identity to actually access Vault itself. So that's when we sort of put the Vault aspect or the secrets aspect on a back burner slightly, so as to get clarity on the workload identity part. So now that's sort of done, at least from the design perspective and our understanding perspective. And now we can sort of slightly push the envelope and then try and see how we can integrate with Vault. So that's what I just wanted to quickly share with the team. One diagram.
Go ahead, share your screen.
Yeah, sure.
I have some questions, but I'll wait before.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, me too.
Yeah. So are you able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why, so I'm trying to show over here how a given workload pod can authenticate itself to a Vault using the SPIFFE ID, whatever is obtained using the Spire server and all these other aspects which are there. So if you see over here, we have a Spire server, and in addition, we have a Spire OIDC discovery service. And this will sort of host one discovery document endpoint for OIDC discovery. And here we have this workload pod. The workload pod basically, whatever are the tokens which are available to it as part of its identity, that it will send across an HTTP request to a Vault. And that Vault is basically configured with OIDC Federation. And the Vault basically then uses the discovery service and figures out and gets those tokens verified. And then once it gets those tokens verified, it sends across a response token, response which contains a client token. And now with this particular client token, the workload pod can then access the Vault. and it can get secrets and and things like that. So this is my basic understanding of how we can integrate with Vault. And this is also with any other service which can which can be configured with OIDC Federation, like for example, AWS, or so there are these examples which are there on the SPIFFE page, which actually talk about these things, right? They got a we can directly talk to AWS, or we can talk to Vault, which is what I've shown as of now. So I'm just bringing up this particular aspect because the AWS aspect, because it's slightly different from the secrets part of it, because last time we were discussing about client credentials and things like that in the identity user story which Manuel had written. And at that point of time, I had this query, why do we require client credentials? And so then I think the point was that, we need to access external services. But then my point is that if we have external services with the OIDC Federation, then we should be able to use the same SPIFFE JOT tokens itself to access them. So yeah, so those are the 2 points.
Yes, okay. Okay, starting from the left, when you say that you go using this Spire OpenID Connect Discovery Service, this means that is Vault that go to the Spire service to get the way to authenticate toward the IDP. Is this the row 2?
That's correct. That's correct, Manila. So yeah. So I'll just quickly share.
Okay, so we can imagine. Okay, but so we can guess that the management server integrate its own IDP or use an external one as a reference architecture in order to give the possibility to authenticate and then get the token. Is it correct? So at some point here,
right.
This is going to some IDP that could be Keycloak as an example, but is a reference architecture supporting the OpenID Connect. Then once it has the token, what it go with the token to the workload pod? Because the workload pod go to Vault to authenticate.
Exactly, because you're trying to get the secrets from the Vault, right? So
and then Vault go to Keycloak or whatever is the IDP to take the real token and then come back with the token. Exactly. It's strange to me because typically Vault is not the one that provide authentication. To get authentication, you go directly to the IDP without this Vault.
No, so Manila, over here, we are trying to access secrets from Vault, right? So we need to get,
yes, you need to get the secret from Vault, but the authentication is not through Vault. You are authenticating and then you get to Vault to take the secret. The token is not provided by Vault itself. It is a strange mix.
Yeah. So basically, I have this link. I can share this link over here. So which basically talks about this particular how do you retrieve secrets?
No. I think Shiv, the whole if we go into the OIDC space, right? Like basically then the identity is handled by someone by the OIDC provider, right? Like in this case, you have mentioned it as Spire OIDC, or it could be something else. Look, the only reason why that document exists is because if you want to use Vault with an OIDC provider, remember that the workload pod, when it requests a secret from the Vault, right, it already is part of some specific namespace and is using a specific service account. that basically forms the identity for it to work with the vault, right? Like, why is there a need for going again to the Spire OIDC discovery service again? What I'm trying to say is that the workload pod cannot integrate tightly with, or cannot be tightly coupled with Vault itself.
No, that's correct, Rahul. So it's not tightly coupled. So basically, whatever is the JOT token which is there, right? So that is basically you have to access. I mean, so there are two aspects, right? One is basically whether there is a sidecar doing it or something like that. But then, either a sidecar or a workload pod, somebody has to do it. That's one part, right? And the other part is basically you need to get a secret. Now, for that, you need to contact Vault, right? And some endpoint over there and get the secret. Now, Vault basically has to authenticate that, that this is a workload pod, which is basically a valid, entity which is allowed to access the Vault secret paths, right? So how does Vault get to know that? So Vault basically comes back to the Spire, so I believe over here Spire is a IDP, right? So I may be wrong, but I think over here Spire is the identity provider, because Spire is giving out identities, right? And those identities are basically then verified over here and then sent across to Vault. And then Vault basically then, is, so essentially what happens is basically that all those, SPIFFE IDs are basically verified over here because the certificates are there over here, right? And then Vaults gets the acknowledgement that, yes, this is a valid workload pod for which I have given out an identity. And then it gives out a token, and based on the token, you get the secret. So
So Vault is configured with OIDC Federation, right? And then Vault is configured to go to Spire OIDC discovery service. Basically,
exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that's in management cluster. Okay, yeah.
So this is what is my understanding now of how we can do it. But then, so Manuel, you had some other point, right? So what you were saying was that this cannot be a IDP, and that was your point. The Spire cannot be IDP.
Yes, I used to have the IDP on top of everything, but I understand what is here, and okay. Okay, then this is just the way to access to Vault, to have access to, and then to be able to get the secret. Okay, and but you already define which kind of secret we want to store in Vault, or this is general, generic, whatever secret we want.
Yeah, so
I mean, we don't use Vault to encrypt and just to encrypt and decrypt, is to store it. In the workload pod, we're going to have also the Kubernetes secret, or we just go to the one that is in Vault.
Yeah, so for that, basically, I think we have identified two items, right? One is basically the kubeconfig, which is there, and the other one is the Gitty tokens, which are there. So those are the two items which we need to store in Vault. Those are the use cases that we have as of now.
But also the token, you wanted to put the token in Vault.
Which tokens? So the Gitty tokens, whatever we use for accessing
this JVT token is just used, not stored in Vault. It's just used for the authentication.
So this JOT token is basically whatever is given out by the SPIFFE ID, right? So it's basically those tokens. So it's not, so it's as part of the identity, right?
Okay. And this, you use this flow in order to get the secret that is for.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Correct.
Okay. But you also go into detail on which kind of secret we have to manage, meaning that, this is an example on how to get secrets if we want to integrate Vault. But which secret we need to manage?
That's not our, so Manuel, that would not be in the scope of this working group to decide. We know that, the get secrets will be used. observability team wants to use their own secrets and things like that. So that scope is not within the this thing. We'll provide flows. We'll provide other teams the
Okay, okay.
procedures to add secrets. Yeah.
Okay, then put in another way. Sorry, you're right. We don't need to decide the function, but how to. Yeah, perfect. So if we think about the other function, meaning that someone put in Porch some data related to an application to deploy in a workload cluster. So it could be this workload pod, for example. This means that at some point, the one that put the data in Porch should access to the workload cluster in order to be able to call the API and deploy the pod, the application. This credential for the workload cluster that maybe now is a spiffy ID or whatever, where are inserted as secret in Vault 2, or is something that is not considered in scope of this?
No. So Manila, so that is basically not put in Vault. So that is available to the workload pod. So we see this design, right? Where is that? 1 second. So yeah, so as part of this, there is a get call, right, which we can do. And as part of the get call, you will get like for example, so Spire agent over here basically hands out, those JOT tokens. Yeah, so this is the diagram. So there is this workload 1 and workload 2, right? Now,
Yes.
so workload 1 will basically get identity on a Unix domain socket, right? And these are basically separate, and so these are exactly the JOT tokens which I was mentioning. And using these JOT tokens, we basically then launch a request to Vault, right? So these JOT tokens are stored, they're available to this workload pod. And the way it is available is basically through this workload API and this Spire agent and this entire set of entities which is giving out that those JOT tokens.
Yes, but if I need to go to this workload pod from outside, how I can know the ID?
Why do you need to go from outside? In the sense that you want to access external services, I think.
Exactly. I want to change the pod, to add some other container images to the workload pod. I want to deploy something new in the workload cluster.
That's a different flow, right, man? That flow is
yes,
not...
I know. Is a different flow, but it is this is related to this workload identity that I understood this management, but this identity needed to be known from the one that want to access to the workload to deploy something else, or how to.
No, so your point is we need the identity of this workload to deploy some other container inside this workload. Is that?
Yes. How to?
So that basically, I think if you have a sysadmin or some other privileges, so you'll have a separate identity, right? So probably associate with user identity. I mean, is that entity which is creating a container, is it a user or is it another workload?
Anyway, in order to access to the cluster, to the workload cluster.
So that will be, I mean, you might have a user identity, right? Which is basically having some privileges for creating containers, and using that you should be able to create it, right? So identity is one thing, and the other one is basically the location and the name of the pod, name of the workload is another thing, right? So using the name of the workload, you should be able to.
Okay, but if I have these privileges, my credentials where are stored? in order, okay, I have the right privileges to install some new container, to create some new resources in the workload cluster. Okay, but in this flow, where are stored the credentials to do it?
So that is not part of this flow, right, Manila? Because this is more
I
like
mean, the kube config or the workload cluster is
No,
somewhere.
no. So let me explain how that will work, right? If changes have to be done to the workload itself, that's managed today by Porch, like or if you or the other subsystems that are config sync like subsystems that are present currently is part of
Yeah.
Nephew.
Yeah.
And the way in which the
And they don't
authentication
use KMS they don't use the vault to store this kube config.
Yes, they no there is they are currently making use of cluster APIs. The cluster APIs requires it to have an access to a key token, which is kept in the. I'm not sure how that is handled currently. We need to look into it. But I'm not sure about user authentication. If your question is the user who is actually sending the request, how is that user authenticated? I'm not sure about that today.
Yeah, so I mean, just to add to that, Rahul, so basically we had this secrets management user story, which was there some time back, right? And then we put this on the back burner. But so these are the issues which we had. So we said that, Kubernetes secrets, they will be stored. And then Git server, whatever tokens are needed. And then, so we identified these two items for basically storing in the vault. I mean, from whatever our understanding, right, at that point of time.
Yes.
So this we had only these two items. We said that, we are going to look at only these two. And so that was it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll add one more. So this is the basic diagram which we had. It says that no, I think, but in general, so this is the flow, right? Which says that, these are the various entities and this is how, I mean, sorry for the really small font size, but
Small.
then,
Okay. Porch management config sync. If you go a little.
so this we had this, this is the current flow, which is there.
Exactly.
And,
Create an Nephew workload package. Oh, fantastic. Yes. Create an Nephew Git repo. Get Git repo, create a cluster request.
so we have this thing
Created the
where,
workload cluster, kube config, QS secret. Okay, exactly. Is what I mean. When
yeah,
you have
This one-
the arrow that come back with the kube config QS secret, this is the credential to access to that specific workload cluster. And I was thinking to have this encrypted and stored in Git.
no, that we can store in Vault, right? I think that's the point, right?
Currently, they don't use a vault, to my understanding. But if we're changing, we are using this, replacing the highlight one with a vault instead of the key token.
Exactly. So I think that's the whole purpose of this feature, right? In the sense that, we have workload identity, and once we have workload identity, for us, secrets management becomes enabled. And then we use that to, write that.
But then if you don't put the kube config in Git, next time that you need to go to that workload cluster,
Exactly.
how do you do?
Yeah, so that we can, now that we have some clarity on the workload identity, right? So that will clarify probably, by next week, we'll have some more clarity on that.
Okay, because when you get the kube config, okay, create a repository object, create a token object, watch, create a Git repository. Okay. in Git, you put also this kubeconfig, I think. Is not specified.
So
but,
currently it's a Kubernetes secret, right? So that's what is when config sync creates a cluster, the cube are stored as a Kubernetes secret as of now.
And
And
this
then-
is not enough. It's not encrypted, so it's
Exactly,
not
yeah.
secure enough.
Not good enough. That's why we try to put the vault there.
So that's why we had this user story, right? Which basically says that, that these are the issues and this is the functional requirements for the secrets management. It says that,
Okay, so secrets include also what I have in mind.
So you had kubeconfig in mind, Manila, is it?
Yes, or
Yeah.
kubeconfig is generic, I know, but whatever authentication method is contained inside that, and so is a sensitive data to protect. So,
Yeah, that's correct.
okay, so this is the requirement, and you say the user story that we have today just cover the picture, the schema that you show me in advance, the one where the workload access to Vault. And then there is also this requirement, but no one still.
Yeah, now we need to work on the design.
Now I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So we have this workload identity design, right? Yeah. Now
this document is a secret management user story. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a review document, right? I think Prashant initiated this thing, and yeah.
Yeah, how can I access to? I guess
all the documents, all
document.
these documents are present in the. Let me share you the link. It's in the
Okay, thank you.
documentation
So
section.
then I have and maybe, and we can go on with the other requirement to do some more detailed work. Do you think?
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, we can start working on this.
With this. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is really, because when I started to participate to this, there was something already ongoing, so I wasn't sure. Now it's really clear.
No, this is good. This is good. Thank you for bringing these questions. Awesome. So this flow is something that, can you add this to the same document, Shiv? We had another document, right? Like, can you add this in the section?
That was workload identity design. So probably I'll start another one with secrets design probably, and then add this figure over there.
Okay. Can you use the existing document that we have? Like, do you have right access to it? The document that Prashant has created?
The workload identity one or the secrets management?
Secrets management.
Yeah, so this I'll just add it.
So my hope is that when we have the whiteboard meetings, maybe in the one summit, right? Like, I want to bring up this point as well about what is it that we are trying to do here, like in SIG security, right? Like how do we plan to handle the secrets management as well? So this is something that I hope to discuss with at least 2 or 3 people, core folks like Alexi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this was what. Okay, perfect. Even because here we have also some other issue related to the fact that this secret someone else put inside the kubeconfig. So the encryption and decryption should be done by different author, meaning that internally you have to decrypt it, but then someone else need to encrypt them before before storing it. But anyway, okay, now instead the user story is this one when the workload needed to get some secret. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to use so much time, but then I can clarify another doubt that I have. But for all of you, the fact to have an identity provider on top of everything, meaning that the Nephew system expose on its northbound interface a check on the identity and an authorization is something that you see as a requirement or not, because internally in Ericsson we have a lot of discussion on this point. We have a lot of products that have this identity provider on top of everything. But then going to Nephew, that everything seems to be Kubernetes, I'm not sure that is still important, having some entry point of the system with well-defined identity and authentication authorization. I know that I already wrote the requirement and are there, but I'm not sure that I got how the other contributors think about having this on top of the system.
So, Manuel, I feel we can't rely just on the Kubernetes identity, because the scope is not a single Kubernetes cluster here, right? Like,
Yes.
so there has to be an inbound, so an identity provider that needs to allow certain users with certain access. There is so that has to be there, in my opinion. Look, if you look at
Okay.
any managed, so if you look at any managed cloud provider as well, let's say, for example,
Okay.
EKS, it's the same model, right? Like, you have EKS allows you to spawn multiple clusters, and within an EKS account you have users, and that those users are configured through EKS identity center. So that identity center becomes the identity provider for all the Kubernetes clusters. So I believe the entry point for any of the identity part has to be there. We cannot just rely on on
Inside, yeah.
Okay, and
Inside,
this is true also. You see a need also to have a sort of API gateway or yes, the normal the standard terminology, I think, is API gateway that typically collaborate with the identity provider.
Yeah, Ingress connecting to Kickwalk.
Ingress is something that is inside the service mesh or other implementation. Then there is the API gateway that is something different.
Yeah.
We need all of these three: the IDP, identity management, and the API gateway, and also the ingress on top of Nephew system. This is again in the initial architecture of Nephew. I don't see all these parts, so maybe it's not required.
No, but when we install Spire server, we'll have to install all that. So we'll have to add. Yeah, that's good. So I think probably at some point we can have a demo, maybe probably a couple of weeks. Just trying to show how basic authentication works. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to ask so many questions. Now I stay quiet.
So then because we have one endpoint which we need to expose using for the node authentication part, right? So we need an API to be exposed by the Spire server. So this particular aspect, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. So this is one part, and even for the YDC for accessing other external entities, we need this one. So so those ingress and API gateway, I think that needs to be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, one comment is when Oren talking to Nephew or other external the product community talking to Nephew, then we need to consider that the machine to machine or user talking. So that's why it's ingress, and we need the API gateway, and then we're gonna go inside. That's the my understanding.
Yeah, so the ingress part, I think, is there. The API gateway, I think, I'm not sure, basically, because depending upon the amount of surface.
Sure. Okay, good.
This is good.
By the way, who's coming to ONE Summit in person? Now you're gonna come. I'm gonna come there. Shiv, you coming?
Raj will be there, I know.
Raj, okay. Shiv, I don't know. You
No,
coming to?
yeah, no, I'm not there.
She
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah, Rahul and I will be there.
Okay, I'll be there too. I don't know about Manuela. You will coming or not?
No.
Okay.
I would like
Okay.
to, but no.
Okay.
Hey, Manuela, one question. Is there any diagram in the document? I was trying to go through the document for identity and access management, which talks about API gateway, location of API gateway, and things like that. Is there any such information available in existing
No,
document? Okay.
it's not there because how
Okay.
to say, I didn't know what because IDP is quite independent. But then if I look at every single product that I have in mind in Ericsson, every time they collaborate with the API gateway and also with the ingress. And typically the collaboration with the API gateway is related to some authorization more than authentication. But here in this context, the authorization is often pushed down on the Kubernetes RBAC. So maybe we don't need it. And so I have some doubt about it. And this is also the reason why I asked to you, because maybe you can have a different vision of the full architecture and it is a good, how to say, comparison.
Yeah. No.
Typically, the API gateway is used to check the role and the capability to access to the system. But this is in systems that are not so based on API server and Kubernetes cluster. But maybe they have some other service that for sure is deployed in the cluster, but have different capability, different API, not just extension, not just meaning different API with respect to extension to the cluster.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I think this was a good discussion. Very nice discussion. Thank you. All this is fodder for us to discuss further during the physical meeting that's going to happen in a couple of weeks. So this will be very useful. Anything else?
Take a lot of notes so you can share them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll keep that in
We're
mind.
gonna do that. Yeah. Now the one question from Tom, because so in the he raised the question. Have you read this Slack channel?
Oh
It's
no,
in
I haven't checked today. Today?
Yeah. If you can check it.
No, I haven't checked that. Yeah.
The question is, Tao mentioned about, he said for actual work, we establish a team called security. I think they're talking about R3 security, enhancement. And then he asked, should we create a separate Slack channel for it, like a team security, or have work communication happen here, and would create too much clutter for general discussion and bookkeeping. Tom, he preferred to have the same channel. I remember this meeting, we can split the actual work and then requirement in the future, like 30%, 70%. I don't know, but take a look at the Tom's question, and then maybe you can answer. So he said he's not strongly opposed to being separate, but he said he like to have.
Yeah. That's a good point. I would think it is better to have the discussion here itself. It's not like we have 50 action items, right? Like usually the actions item are 1, 2, or 3 or 5 maximum in best case. Okay, so creating yet another channel and expecting people to be there as well would be significant. So I'll respond back to Tal here. Yeah.
Basically,
Okay.
he said the one is the real implementation, and the other one is the.
No, it's better to have the folks here, right? Like we don't have. It's better to have the same channel.
I prefer that way, but you can answer.
Yeah, I'll respond back to. Yeah. Okay. What else?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day, good week ahead. Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks. Okay.
See you in 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks, certainly.
Okay.
And then we will meet next week before that meeting.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
Okay.
good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.